Now, Director at Wise Collective, Advocate Brenda Madumise-Pajibo, joins us for a broader discussion on this. Good evening, Advocate. Thank you very much for joining us on the late edition. Now, we heard the Deputy President there being challenged on what government is doing to fight the scourge of GBV. What did you make of some of his responses there?
Good evening, and thanks for having me. I think it's literally disappointing that that's the kind of response that we have received from the Deputy President. What I've expected from a Deputy President is to say to South Africa, in the 5 years that we have had the National Strategic Plan on Gender-Based Violence, this is how much effort we have put in terms of resources, and the resources I'm talking about monetary, I'm talking about human resources, and demonstrate to South Africans that there is the strength that he's talking about, that there is that, and he takes us through each and every single pillar of that NSP on what has been done in the 5 years. That plan is up for review, and if the Deputy President is still talking about we're going to look at mechanisms to ensure that we strengthen evidence gathering, he's telling us as South Africans that we have failed. If a whole Deputy President tells us that there is a problem with evidence gathering, and that our witness protection system is dysfunctional, then we are in trouble, right? And we can't talk about it now when there is an outcry coming out of the public because of the rape of the minor child in Matatiele and the Omotoso case. If they were serious about addressing gender violence in this country, they would have been painstaking in their approach for the 5 years to show their commitment, to show their will, and to demonstrate leadership in ensuring that we don't have these kinds of incidences that are happening now.
But Advocate, is he not a realist here in this respect, that clearly what we saw happening with the acquittal of Pastor Timothy Omotoso, that clearly there are some shortcomings, so he had to express that at the very least they're looking to strengthen those evidence gathering systems in this respect?
But if he's saying that now to us, and I'm going to emphasize the point, we have had the National Strategic Plan for 5 years. We put in new laws 5 years ago to strengthen what he's talking about. So what is it that I'm going to do anew? I'm at a loss. What is it that they're going to strengthen? Because you have you have prosecutors, you have the law that is before you. So why was Omotoso acquitted? So you have to look at how the NPA is managing its team, because if there was management of that prosecutorial team in the Eastern Cape, wouldn't be where we are now. If there was checkup on what the prosecutor is doing on a daily basis to make sure that the evidence that they have before them, that it's a slam dunk case, and that they have the evidence that is required, would be where we are today. So I'm just at a loss to understand what is it that they're going to strengthen. That's why and the NPA, that's why they're taking this long to come back to South Africa to tell us whether they are appealing the decision or not, because they know that they did not do what they were supposed to do. If you are prosecuting a high-profile case of this nature, and remember, this case had been going on for too long, for the longest of time, you can't have a seasoned prosecutor being given this case, and then he's given 7 days to cross-examine, and he does it in 2 hours. That's short work.
But then does it speak to an issue around the need to manage such cases? Because you state that this is a seasoned prosecutor, so that level of micromanagement, is that what was needed here?
Absolutely. So in my understanding, and it happens in most of these many big cases, even if you are heading a team in the provinces as the NPA, including the national prosecutor, surely the national prosecutor receives reports on what is happening with some of these cases. I want to believe that there are sessions held with the head of the NPA together with her team in the provinces to give an update where there are loopholes or there are some gaps. They plug those gaps to ensure that they put a good fight. That's what I would want to see happen, and I want to believe that's happening, because as lawyers you do that. You need to make sure that you are ready. You have researched the law. You know what you're going to be looking for and what the evidence you have before you. What is the cross-examination that you are going to do with the accused? He did absolutely nothing with Omotoso. He was done in 1 hour, 30 minutes when he had 7 days to do so, right?
So once you realize that, then there is a serious problem with how this case was managed from the beginning.
And then, Advocate, what would you like to see happen, or what indication would you like to see on the part of government to indicate that they are ready to meaningfully fight the scourge of GBV in the country?
Absolutely. We've got a national strategic plan on gender-based violence. It's 5 years now. We handed it over to government in 2018. We gave it to them to say, please, now you have a roadmap on how to address gendered violence in this country. Do what it is in that document. If we did half of the things that we had said in that document, we'll be far by now as a country. We have not done any prevention interventions in this country at all, right? It's bits and pieces. We get excited when it is 16 days of no activism against gender-based violence, and that's when we come out in our numbers at government. We are hosting all sorts of events. So it's events-driven instead of working on the messaging and being on the faces of South Africans to drive the message hard on South Africans so that they understand why it's important to have a violent-free country and a country that respects the bodily autonomy of women, a country that respects children.
Advocate, thank you very much for your time this evening. That's Director Advice Collective, Advocate Brenda Madumise-Pajibo.